She watched only one television channel. She didn't even own a vehicle. She had never even been to a hotel before. Some might assume segregation ruined her life, but that is not the case. She saved the equivalent of $1 million in today's time. She had no education, no pension. She wasn't even an employee of a company. So how did a woman who never married, never owned a car, and had never really traveled save so much money? She would go on to do something so big, it would change lives. Later on, she even went on to be a special guest on television shows and appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show as well. This is her remarkable story, so unbelievable it sounds like a fiction novel. Her name was Oseola McCarty, and for most of her life, she was invisible to the outside world. She was born on March 7, 1908, in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, into a society that had already decided what her future would look like. The promises of Reconstruction had collapsed decades earlier. Jim Crow laws governed nearly every aspect of Black life, from where one could live to where one could work, learn, and even walk. See, Oseola already had her path defined by law. In 1896, years before she was even born, the United States Supreme Court ruled in Plessy versus Ferguson that racial segregation was legal under the doctrine of separate but equal. This decision allowed Mississippi to enforce separate schools, hospitals, trains, and public spaces, while limiting Black workers to the lowest paying jobs. By the time she was actually born in 1908, segregation was not debated, it was enforced. She wasn't even eligible for Social Security benefits. Like her parents, her life was marked by a system that was not built for people like them to thrive in. As a young girl, she attended school like other children. She had dreams. She wanted to become a nurse.
I want to be a nurse when I grow up.
But those dreams ended abruptly when her aunt became seriously ill. With no financial support and no social safety net available to poor Black families, responsibility fell on her shoulders. She left school in the 6th grade and never returned. Instead, she began working as a washerwoman. At the time, washing clothes by hand was one of the few forms of employment available to Black women in the South. It was exhausting labor. Water had to be heated manually over a fire. Heavy garments had to be scrubbed, rinsed, wrung out, and ironed by hand. The work strained the back, the hands, and the joints. It was slow, repetitive, and often underpaid. But Oseola approached it with discipline. Every week, no matter how small the amount, she saved money. She opened a savings account at a local bank and deposited what she could. She did not spend unnecessarily. She never owned a car. She walked to the grocery store. She lived in the modest family home she had known most of her life. She never married. She never had children. She rarely traveled beyond Hattiesburg. And yet, for some reason, she chose to save her money. She saved during the Great Depression, when millions of Americans lost their livelihoods. She saved during World War II. And she continued to do so through decades of segregation, when Black workers were routinely denied fair wages and economic advancement. She continued to save her hard-earned money through the civil rights movement, as the nation slowly began dismantling legal segregation too. For 75 years, she washed other people's clothes without a break. Eventually, arthritis made it impossible for her to continue. By the early 1990s, she was in her late 80s and had no choice but to stop working. She went to the bank expecting modest savings, enough to help her survive. Instead, the total stunned her. She had saved more than $280,000. Money earned through manual labor and without a higher education. This was her money she had earned without an inheritance, pension, or corporate employment. Adjusted for inflation, the value represented close to $1 million in today's terms. But what she did next shocked the nation. In 1995, she made a decision that would permanently change her legacy. She donated $150,000, more than half of her entire savings, to the University of Southern Mississippi to establish a scholarship fund for students in need. This was deeply personal. Education was something she had been forced to give up. She understood what opportunity looked like when it was taken away. Her donation ensured others would not face the same fate. News of her gift spread quickly across Mississippi, then across the country, The idea that a washerwoman with a sixth-grade education had quietly accumulated and donated such wealth captured national attention. In 1995, President Bill Clinton awarded her the Presidential Citizens Medal, one of the highest civilian honors in the United States. She stood in the White House as living proof that national impact does not always come from positions of power. Sometimes it comes from discipline practiced in silence. Universities awarded her honorary degrees. Civic organizations honored her. She was invited onto national television, including appearances where millions heard her story firsthand. But perhaps the most meaningful moment came quietly. She lived long enough to see the first students receive the scholarship created with her money. In 1996, the first recipients enrolled at the University of Southern Mississippi. She met some of them personally. She saw young people walk into classrooms with opportunities she herself had been denied more than 80 years earlier. Years after her donation made national headlines, Oseola McCarty explained her decision in simple terms. She did not speak like a politician or a wealthy philanthropist. She spoke like a woman who understood labor. I didn't want them to work as hard as I did. There was no bitterness in her voice, only truth. She had spent 75 years standing over boiling water, scrubbing and pressing clothes that did not belong to her. She knew exactly what it meant to trade physical strength for survival. Her scholarship was not just money. It was a chance for someone else to live a different life. The future she had been forced to abandon had become the future she funded. Despite national recognition, her life did not change dramatically. She continued living in her modest home. She did not suddenly spend extravagantly. She remained the same woman who had spent decades waking early and working with her hands. On September 26, 1999, Oseola McCarty died at the age of 91. Her scholarship continues to exist. Her life stands as a reminder that wealth is not always loud and influence is not always visible. For 75 years, she performed work many people overlooked. Yet through discipline and sacrifice, she created opportunity that continues long after her death. She never became a nurse, but she made sure others could become whatever they dreamed, and that is truly foundational. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. Oseola McCarty was born March 7, 1908 in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. She left school after the 6th grade to care for her family and worked as a washerwoman for approximately 75 years. Through disciplined saving, she accumulated more than $280,000. In 1995, she donated $150,000 to the University of Southern Mississippi to create a scholarship fund. President Bill Clinton awarded her the Presidential Citizens Medal that same year. The first scholarship recipients enrolled in 1996, and she lived to meet them. She also appeared on national television programs including Oprah Winfrey's show. She died September 26, 1999, at age 91. Her scholarship fund remains active today. Legal disclaimer. This report is presented for educational, informational, and historical purposes. Scope News aims to accurately reflect documented historical events using public records, university archives, federal honors records, and contemporaneous news reporting. Narrative descriptions are used to convey historical and social context but do not alter factual accuracy. Financial equivalents referenced are inflation-adjusted estimates. Historical records, images, and media may be limited due to preservation or licensing constraints. This content is not intended to defame or misrepresent any individual or institution, but to document historical realities surrounding labor, philanthropy, and economic inequality in the United States. Viewer discretion is advised when engaging with historical material involving poverty, segregation, and systemic barriers.